Howdy, y'all. Got a battle report today. We're bringing the filth. We've got a tournament coming up here next month that hopefully happens. We'll see if it does or not. And so we're doing some practice games for that. I was gonna bring in my Stegageddon to that tournament, but since the FAQ didn't actually change any of Croak's points, and didn't change any Fangs of Sotek's abilities, I think I might be bringing Fangs of Sotek just to to try to do as best as I can. That may be our one chance at it. So we're both bringing some practice lists for this game to kind of see how we do. So that my Fangs of Sotek list here, we'll run through that real quick and then look at the Nurgle list that's being brought. So our Fangs of Sotek, we got Croak, of course, at 320 points. Priced just right per the last two FAQs. We've got our Astrolith Bear to boost his spell casting, gives him +1 to his spell cast, and we've got the standard Croak, power tower here. We've got the Source Guard, Croak, Astrolith Bear, and the ultra rare Balewind Vortex. Good luck finding one of those. So that we've got our Croak power tower there, cast spells. He can do his spammable spell at a big long range, 26-inch range. Once you buff it up with his normal 10-inch range, Astrolith Bear gives him an extra 6, and it's not 26-inch range, 22-inch range. Croak gets 10 inches on it. Bear gives him 6 inches, and then Balewind gives him 6 inches. So you got 22-inch range on that, which is pretty good. You can hit most of the board once you get them put up into the middle, especially if you put them on the line. If you deploy Croak on the line, it can come with risks. See the last Seasons of War video. If you haven't subscribed to Seasons of War, go subscribe to them. They do really good bat reps. But you might learn some lessons. So I've got my Croak here. We've also got 2 Skink Star Priests and 2 Skink Priests. I'm giving the artifact Serpent God Dagger to the Skink Star Priest. It's basically Archaon's Slayer of King Swords. If you do any damage to somebody with it on a 5-up, you can stuff them in this dagger. You slay the model. Now, the problem is our skink heroes that might have this are all terrible in melee, so you never want them in melee. But you got to give them that to somebody for Fangs of Sotek. So we're giving that to a Star Priest. Maybe we can pull something funny with him, teleport, and try to kill a greater unclean one. We'll see. 2 skink priests. I'm going to make one my general and give him the command trait Master of Star Ritual so he can use his command ability without having to use a command point. I am going to be using that command ability quite a few times, so it should pay for itself as the command trait. So we're doubling up on both of those guys to go with our skink battle lines. We got 40 with bolt spitters and shields, and then another 30 with bolt spitters and shields. And our third battle line is, of course, the Source Guard to help Croak. My units here, I've got 15 Chameleon Skinks. I really like these guys. But I like them best paired up here in Fangs with the Salamanders. So I've got a full unit of Salamanders here. And this kind of gives me a good 1-2 punch. And so with Fangs, we are super fast, especially in turn 1. We got that extra 3-inch movement for all our skink stuff. Plus the Constellation can be added to that if we need to. We can run and shoot with the skinks. And so we can hit them with 70 skinks turn 1. And then also drop down Chameleon Skinks and Salamanders onto a priority target. This comes in at 2,000 points exactly and 142 wounds. Now, it has some weaknesses, this list does. I don't start with any command points, so if I get alpha charged, I can't use my Overwatch ability for the skinks. It's kind of fragile. Some of the pieces are fragile, especially our heroes. If you can snipe off the heroes, this list falls apart pretty quick. But that's one thing that's kind of nice about the Chameleon Skinks is they start off the board, and then my Salamanders, I like to deploy them way far back and buff them up and then teleport them in. So they're usually safe turn 1. So I've got 2 pieces that are hard to hit turn 1 if you're going to alpha me, and then I can deliver them wherever I need to. So that's the list I'm bringing. He is bringing Nurgle, and it's in the Munificent Wanderers. And I'm not going to know what all of this means. I'm going to try my best here. He does have the Thricefold Befoulment Battalion, which is all 3 of these big guys. And they have, let's see if I remember this, Muck Talon. I think that bounces mortals back to you. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that one. The Wither Stave makes you re-roll any 6s when you're within 12 inches of him, which is really good. I can't tell you what all these spells do. So, I don't know. If you know Nurgle, then you know what those mean. Battle line, he's got 90 Plague Bearers. And this is the list where I'm looking at this as a Fangs player saying, there's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do turn 1. Because these guys are the anti-shooting unit. This is like the answer to the shooting meta right now. You've got 90 bodies in this list that are -2 to shoot, -1 in combat. They ignore 1 rend, which all of Seraphon, all they get is -1 rend. That's the most we have. I guess Salamanders have -2, so that's not true there. But so very, very tough anti-shooting units, and that's my entire army is shooting. So he is going to outdrop me. He's only got 4 drops, his battalion, and then the 3 battle lines. He does have Geminids and Suffocating Gravetide. Suffocating Gravetide just makes him even harder to shoot it. It can give him +1 to save if he's being shot, if that's in between me and him. And Geminids, well, you know what those do. So I was looking at this list, and I'm thinking, my Skinks can't do anything against those Plague Bearers. They're normally hitting on 5s. I can get them down to 4s if I spend a command point with the Skink Priest. But naturally on 5s, these guys are -2 to hit, so you can modify above a 6. I literally cannot damage these guys with my Skinks. I've got to spend a command point every time on my Skinks. And then I'm hitting on 6s, and if I'm within 12 inches of the greater unclean one, then they're re-rolling those 6s. So it's going to be incredibly hard to damage these Plague Bearers. So my strategy going into this was I've got to focus on 1 unit of Plague Bearers at a time and try to knock them down to under 20. If they're under 20, they're only -1 to shoot. And so then maybe I can manage them that way. Chameleon Skinks and Salamanders, they have enough things that hit on 6s and do mortals that regardless of how many minuses to hit I am, I can at least do some mortals to him that way. And so I think if I can just focus fire on 1 unit at a time, maybe I can take him down, and it'll be a matter of whether or not I can score points on the objectives with all these bodies. So there's our lists and our deployment here. We are playing Battle for the Pass. Somehow we roll, and every time I think we roll Battle for the Pass. And so you get 1 point for your own objective here, 2 for the ones in the middle, and if you can score theirs, you get 4. So I, of course, lined Croak up on the line, as you tend to do. I knew he could alpha me with these. Nurgle is actually pretty fast. He put his tree here in the middle, so he can max a run and then charge after the run as long as he is within 7 of this tree. So he could probably get to me if he got a really good charge, but I'm not too worried about the Plague Bearers in combat. They're not really all that good in combat. They're just a tank. They're not going to do damage. They're just going to absorb it. And these greater unclean ones, that's only 1. Even if he ran it over here to get into Croak, I think Croak can survive that with the guard. So I'm putting him on the line. I'm putting him in cover on this little brick thing, and just hoping I can have enough time to get my spells off. I put 1 block of Skinks over on this side. They're gonna focus over here, and I've got enough open space here. I'm gonna buff up these Salamanders and teleport them to hit this unit as well, and then probably bring in my Chameleon Skinks to hit this unit. And I'm just going to look to devastate that unit as much as I can with mortals, hopefully get it under 10, and then hit them with Skink, or get them under 20, and then hit them with Skinks after that. That's the plan. I do have my core unit here, going to put the Balewind, and then try to get that big 22-inch bubble going around to all the objectives. My Chameleons are off the board. My unit of 40 and 30 is here. He's just lining up all his Plague Bearers with a greater unclean one each, and then it's going to be a rush to the objectives. He does take, and he outdrops me, and he takes turn 1, which I thought he might but there was a chance that he was going to let me try to just get on there and then hope for the double turn. But I think he just wants to sit on the objectives, hold them, try to make me shoot into his -2 to shoot, and see how that works. So he gets off Gymnids. Unfortunately, he had lined up his Greater Unclean Ones about an inch or two back from the line. And so these Gymnids were about a quarter inch from hitting anything in my army. So he couldn't quite hit the Skinks, which would have really been the only target. Not a big deal. It wasn't going to really do a whole bunch of damage how far away we were, but would have done a little bit of mortgage, made a -1 to hit. So then they really couldn't do any shooting. And he also gets off the Gravetide. You see he's converted this spell. Looks pretty awesome. It's some surfing Nurglings. So he's throwing it forward where he's going to put the Greater Unclean Ones to kind of clog up that middle. And you can see how he's moved this unit over here to protect that one. Moved a unit here. And then basically clogging up the board. Not leaving me a good target here. If I'm shooting either one of these guys, they're going to be -1 or +1 to their save or shooting. And if I'm shooting into these guys, they're going to be -2 to shoot. So not a real good target here. Clogging up the middle, screening his back edge so I can't teleport anything in. And now he's going to sit on objectives and see what I do. So he got off a couple spells. I think he did a few mortals to a couple little heroes. Nothing too devastating. But most of what he was trying to do, he got off. Croak wasn't able to stop much. But we'll get his pluses to cast and unbind going here in a minute. So there's his army. Move those guys over to the right side, and he scores 5 points in that turn. Scores a 2 in the middle and his own. So on my turn, I get Croak on the Balewind up. And because these guys, his entire army is Chaos Demons, Croak's spell is doing, his spammable spell is doing 3 flat damage instead of D3. And that is pretty good. But you see this giant pile of dead Plague Bears. Most of those came from the Stellar Tempest spell, which is a horde busting spell. And he can hit that from pretty far away. It's normally a 24-inch range, but he's got +12 to his range right now. I spiked that pretty hard. So I roll 30 dice, because that's how many's in that unit. And on a 5-up, it's immortal. I think I rolled 15 5-ups, so got half. Now, he did save pretty good. I think he saved 8 of them. But that in combination with Croak's spammable spell, which was able to hit all 3 of his Plague Bearer units, which is what I hit. I'm not even worrying about the Greater Unclean Ones yet. I'm just going for the Plague Bearers. And so I'm able to hit that 3 times. I didn't roll too hot on the board-wide spell pretty much all game, the Comet's Call, and I would get like 1 or 2 units. That was it. But I'm putting everything I can into this unit. So I did hit it with only 1 unit on Comet's Call and put it into this one. So that's why you're seeing quite a few dead back here, getting through those Plague Bearers, and now I'm feeling good. They're under 20 already, and I haven't had to shoot anything yet. So I'm going to adjust my strategy a little bit to where I'm not going to drop my Chameleon Skinks down over there, but I'm still going to teleport my Salamanders. So, yeah, we see the dead pile back there in the corner. And here's end of movement. I don't need my extra 3 inches of Fangs movement because he's moved close to me. So thank you. And we've got all our Skinks buffed up. These guys are just moving in to cover if he decides to try to charge these fellas in this way onto Croak. So now he's going to have to activate the shooting from the Skinks here. But I teleport my Salamanders, move these guys up, and my Chameleon Skinks comes down on the right side. So they're going to start doing some wounds to that unit that's on the right. I've got 15 Chameleon Skinks that are popping up on this terrain feature, luckily all in range of that front guy. So that'll be 30 shots. 6s are doing mortals. Nothing. I think they'd hit on a 5 since they're minus 2 to shoot. So we'll still get a few through, but mostly looking for those mortals. After shooting, I got all but 3 of those Plague Bearers on that left side dead. I was hoping for a few more, but they are still pretty hard to hit, and they got a 5-up, so not bad. We were actually able to kill off more than I would have thought over here. Those Chameleon Skinks did quite a bit of work, and we start those guys dying, and that was nice. These guys in the middle, they really didn't have a good target. I think I ended up shooting into one of the greater unclean ones and maybe did like 1 or 2 wounds. I couldn't shoot these guys because I didn't spend a command point on them this turn. I just didn't have enough command points. I didn't roll very good on my command points. And so I didn't have enough command points to spend it here. And so they would have been -2. They wouldn't have been able to hit anything. So I put it into this guy, did a couple wounds. That was it. But over here on the important target, we got those guys busted down. They're down to 3. I would really like to finish him off because on a battle shock roll of 1, he adds D6 units in. And he does. He rolls a 1. He gets 2 more in. We don't see it there. He gets 2 more in. I think he probably made a little bit of a mistake not putting him into combat as he added him. I think he can. But he just added him to kind of block up this guy. I thought about charging these skinks in to just finish off this, but there wasn't really any point to it. If he charges me, I'll basically get a free shot, a free shooting phase. The skinks could definitely kill those 3 guys in melee, but I'm already on the objective, so there's no reason to waste that. If I get the double turn, I'm going to shoot him off anyway. If he gets the turn, he's going to charge me, or he's going to sit there and lose the objective. So, win-win. Seraphon. But at the end of my turn, I score 3. I get the one on the left and my own. Summoning points in this game aren't going to hardly matter. I have to use all of Kroak's spells for actual spells, so I get D3 from the banner guy, and that's not enough to matter. So I won't be talking about it. Priority roll. He wins the priority roll going into 2, and I moved Geminids up just to try to block him off here. I made sure I kind of moved him around my guy so I didn't pass over him. And I'm really just trying to block these greater unclean ones from rushing in or these guys from getting too many in. He moves the grave tide up. He's going to move his greater unclean ones to try to get onto that grave tide just to protect them a little bit more. There's the money shot of Kroak looking at the greater unclean ones. You could just see the confidence in Kroak there. So in his turn, here's movement. He's just moved this greater unclean one over this way, and he's going to charge these plague bearers just to try to tie up these salamanders. And if one can survive, then the salamanders can't shoot there. Obviously, I just teleport him, but it makes him a little bit less flexible. He does charge in these plague bearers into these skinks, but since those skinks don't have any buffs right now, there's that charge on the salamanders. I don't waste a command point trying to activate them because they would have done 0 damage. I literally could not have done any damage to those guys because they were -2 to shoot. I didn't have my +1 up, and I didn't really want them that much closer to my objective. I don't want to back off towards my objective right here anymore and let them in. So I just stayed put. Actually, I don't think he did any damage to the skinks. Maybe it looks like he killed 2 in combat. And then I struck back and killed a couple of those plague bears with the skinks. Skinks in combat, it's not too bad. They were -1. Still got a couple through with the mortals and stuff. Salamanders actually cleared the plague bears by 1 wound, so that was nice. It was close, but they were able to clear those guys off, and they're gone now. He kept these guys pat because he didn't want to charge over here to these guys because they were still wholly within 18 of this little hero. I kept him right there so they'd be wholly within 18, so they would have been able to shoot if he tried to charge them. So in the turn, he scores 3. It's now 8-3. Nurgle's in a lead, but now I get to go. So I get my buffs up on all my units, on all my skinks, and put +1 to hit on the salamanders as they're going to teleport. And I move in the Chameleon Skinks. Kroak does his thing, and most of all the damage I was putting into these 2 units here, just trying to clear as many bodies as I can. I'll deal with the greater unclean ones later, but most all my spells went into those 2 guys. That Stellar Tempest spell, man, I take that every time on Kroak in case I face hordes. And this game, it came through amazingly well. It has such long range, especially when you get them up on the Balewind Vortex and an Astrolith Bearer. You're talking 36-inch range for a spell that kills hordes. That's awesome. I kind of wish I had taken the Tide of Serpents on one of my skink priests. They both had Hand of Glory. But if I'd had that Tide of Serpents on one of them, I could have dealt even better with hordes. So we're just busting these guys down and getting it when we got them down under 20 between spells, and then with our shooting phase here, we see we deleted all but 2. So I teleported the salamanders back over on this backside. They were outside of 6 of this objective though, and we killed off enough to where this charge was going to be pretty long. They weren't going to be able to make it in. Here we're just shooting onto this greater unclean one. Same here, shooting here, clearing bodies is all we're doing. I can deal with the greater unclean ones. They can hit hard, but I can lose those bodies. I'll outbody the objective every day with those guys. After shooting, I had left this middle greater unclean one with the wither stave, which this wither stave is so annoying, having to reroll all your 6s. And I had a lot of stuff within 12 of him, and so rerolling all your 6s was really hurting me. But after the shooting and after all the spells, I think he was left with just a couple wounds left. And so I charged in the skinks, got quite a few around him. So in melee, they're now hitting on 4s because they're +1. I may have had Hand of Glory on them to reroll 1s, and then you're still doing the mortals. And so with that many skinks in, 1-inch range, you can get quite a few attacks onto the greater unclean one, and was able to finish him off. So skinks aren't just good at shooting. Guess what? They're good in melee too. Oh man, yeah. So at this point, it's that snowball's rolling, and it's gonna end quickly. Over here on the right hand side, these Chameleon Skinks are just, man, they are doing work. Those mortals, they were hitting on those mortals, and they were being supported by Croak's spell too. Let's not shortchange Croak here. But they were able to clear off this objective here in the shooting, and I had a couple guys in. Those guys there. Oh, the last 2 Plague Bearers ran in battle shock. I don't think there was any reason for him to save them, and now he's only got 2 greater unclean ones left. This one I had gotten the Star Priest's -1 to his save spell onto him, so that was really helping kind of work through his wounds, and he was down pretty low. So we got that objective, and now we're all tied up, and he only has 2 models left on the board. So going into turn 3, it's looking inevitable, and he wins the roll-off again. So I've never double turned him in this game. We've just kept flip-flopping back and forth, and he takes it. I run his own spell over him. Why don't you just bind your spells, buddy? So I run his own spell over and calls a couple mortals. He retreats back towards his own objective, and I don't have that one, so he's just trying to get bodies on it and doing what he can. He can't really summon much. I've kind of got the board clogged up. He can kind of summon a little bit back here, I think, but not really, nothing that will be useful. And he charges into this unit of skinks here, and he charges into the salamanders in the back, just trying to clear out some bodies. He does. He kills off just about all the handlers in combat with this guy, with the charge, and then in combat with Rodagus. But the salamanders hit back pretty stinking hard. They are good in combat as well. And so they hit back, and then my skinks here in combat, they hit back a little bit too. I think I did more damage to him when he charged in. I was able to do quite a bit of damage, and I failed the retreat, which was good because I didn't want to retreat. I didn't want to roll that 4 up to retreat off of the shoot because I piled these guys in, got 1 model in, piled these guys in that way, and had 2 models in. So I had a total of 3 models within 6 inches of that, and he only had 2. I did lose 1 salamander to bravery, but his greater unclean ones are on a lifeline. They only have a couple wounds left, and it's going into my turn. So he scores 0 that turn. And then my turn, we end up clearing off those 2 greater unclean ones. And now I'm just going to score the rest of the objectives the rest of the game. So I think we may even have a picture of the scoreboard. Yeah, 35-8. A thorough whooping there. And man, it was not what I expected. I thought this was a hard counter to my list because of that -2 to shooting. Yeah, I could kill greater clean ones with my shooting, but that wouldn't matter if I couldn't kill all those bodies. He would just score the objective. Um, but the amount of mortals that I can do with that punch of Chameleon Skinks and Salamanders was able to bust that -2 to hit down to -1, and then I can roll enough dice to do damage. I think the real winner for the game for me was the Stellar Tempest spell on Croak. Rolling a dice for every model in a unit and 5-ups or mortals was just brutal to an army that had those 3 big blocks of bodies. And so I was able to remove that gave me a lot of damage in the spell phase. And so that was really nice. Croak spell was doing work just about every turn. He was doing, 6 to 9 mortals for each of those 3 units. And because it's a flat 3, it's a lot more stable. The averages, pick up a lot. Now he has a 5-up after save, and he was hitting on some of those, but it's just a lot of mortals to go through, and I was able to chew it down to where that -2 to hit was no longer on there, and then could clear off the rest of them. So in the end, we killed 2,000 points, and I don't think he killed a unit. He killed, I think, about 10 skinks from the middle. I think 2 Chameleon Skinks, and then one salamander and a bunch of handlers. So, oh man, brutal game. That's what is the game swung for me from. I think I have a path to victory if everything goes my way, to okay, maybe I've undervalued some of these mortals that can hit on 6s. So, a little bit of a lopsided win there at the end. I do have that buff versus Chaos Demons, and I think it came in handy. Definitely came in handy versus this. So this list here, if I'm playing his Nurgle list with Stegodons, I think I lose that just about every game because the crossbows will basically do nothing. In melee, you're going to be -1 to hit. He's got way too many bodies to deal with. I think Stegogeddon loses against that list the majority of times. But Fangs here, maybe it's a little strong. It still has its weaknesses, but I really do like this list. So we may roll out some more Fangs in the next few battle reports. I'll try to go back to some Thunder Lizards when I can. That's my love, but we've got to throw down some practice games for Fangs of Sotek. All right, guys, let me know what I should have done differently, or if I should have done anything differently. How could the Nurgle guy have held on a little bit longer, have done a little bit better, maybe? And let me know. Catch you guys later.